Kosten Amadeo Bagnis. Er kommt ins Ziel. Der dritte Ausleger. BMW IBSF Bobsleigh and Skeleton World Championships 2024 in Winterberg in Germany, presented by Veltins at the Veltins Ice Arena. And there's a bit of a party atmosphere at the start of the track as we get ready for the men's skeleton competition to get underway. Workers just tidying up the end of the spur, the grooves that are cut for the bobsleds to start in, and the skeletons use one of those each. I'm Martin Haven. Alongside me is Dutch coach, former US slider Mike Rogels. Mike, it's a track that a lot of sliders know because they will often come here in their junior career, but that means that the devil is in the detail. It is hard to be fast here.
Exactly. Frankly, it's super frustrating as a track because like tiny differences you can't even feel make such a huge difference. That was curve 0 we just came through. Most important thing is not the skid. This 1 into 2, 1-2 transition, you're looking for sleds to be very parallel, and then you're looking for smooth arcs through curve 2. Into 3. 3 is kind of a weird setup corner for 4, which sets up 5. 4, you're going to see some sleds get a little too high here and a little too early to 5. 5, you basically don't want a bunch of height because you'll have a big skid through here into 6, and then possibly skid into 7. 7 is the Kreisel. It's super important for carrying speed, transferring the speed from the top to the bottom of the track. 8, this tricky curve. It'll make you hit the right ball before 9. 9, big 2 pressures, kind of slings you out. You get that little, you saw that little wave at the end. It's kind of a little spooky. Same here in curve 11. You get a little rise at the end, and it kind of, this whole lower labyrinth just puts you off your rhythm if you're not careful. And then right at the end of 14 here, you have a good chance of rolling, like you see our POV sled almost did.
Yeah, almost everybody in the first couple of heats of the women's competition was doing that, desperate to hang on to the speed across the line. Well, there is our world and Olympic champion, 2-time world, 1-time Olympic champion Christopher Grotehair. Matt Weston, the reigning world champion for Team GB. Jung Seung-gui was a bronze medalist for Korea, and Amadeo Banyas, the silver medalist last time out in St. Moritz. Well, Matt Weston's never been in a position of defending a world championship before. How will that play? There's Felix Kaisinger. Expect him to be among the fastest starters. He's from Bavaria, so this is not, quote, his home track, but the Germans know it well.
They've just got so many reps.
Yeah, and Ying Cheng, third starter in our field of now 30 athletes, and fresh off 2 consecutive wins. But they were in rough, tough Sigulda and rough, tough Altenberg, which is as different a track from this as it is possible to get.
Absolutely. When you get offline in either of those 2 tracks, you got to get back quickly. In Winterberg, it's more about kind of massaging the sled back into the right position over a couple curves.
So 30 sleds in the field, and they all go for at least 3 of the 4 heats. Christopher Grotehair first off. Matt Weston takes draw number 2. Yin Cheng of China, draw number 3. Jung Seung-gui, he could be a real dark horse. Who is your money on? Well, you look at the Olympic champion, you look at the world champion, you look at the other medalists, but, you know, I don't know. It's going to be really tough to call. We saw big drama in the second heat of the women's competition. Track speed went away very quickly throughout heat 1 and 2 of the women's competition. So it's all about consistency, and that is going to be absolute key. Olympic champion Christopher Grotehair gets the World Championships underway here in Germany. The 31-year-old gold medalist in the Worlds in Altenberg in 2020 and 21.
Look at that water.
Yeah, it's absolute whitewater rafting. It was like this on Monday in the last day of training.
Yeah, so the water on the track just makes it very difficult. You start hydroplaning, you start losing, basically just lose grip really fast, and the whole thing can get away from you very quickly. Chris is doing a great job of managing this so far. I like his entrance of 5. Steering pretty hard at the exit though, so maybe he didn't like it.
498, pretty decent start. He's the man who's going to give us an indication of maybe how quick the track is.
Yeah, this is looking pretty tight. A little bit of a skid there into 9, but super low drama, nice and quiet on the sled. This is what it kind of should look like most of the time.
2 world championship and 1 Olympic gold medal in 3 consecutive seasons. He's really in strong form. Missed the podium last year in St. Moritz. Yeah, hard to read.
Yeah.
And do you know what? It's hard to read because we don't know what anybody else has got. So is that as quick as the track goes, or is there more?
Yeah, like I said, I think that there's a little bit more to be had. Maybe entrance 5. His 0 to 1 was a little bit looked a little bit unsure. Yes,
quite a lot of 0. You try and skid around the inside if you can, See the legs moving a lot behind him.
Just trying to balance and get the sled moving straight again. Maybe a little bit too early to one as well. But yeah, no, I mean, it looks like he handled all the issues very well. We'll just see if he oversteered, or I don't know. We're going to see how it stacks up.
Yeah. Well, there is Matthias Guggenberger, part of the coaching setup for British Skeleton. And there is Matt Weston, the reigning world champion. Made his debut in Altenburg 2020. Took a silver medal as well last year in a team race with Laura Dees. Hey, Laura. Sure she's watching back home. And his teammate Tabby Sturk are currently in the silver medal position in the women's race overnight.
So you know that their equipment is
set. 486. He will be among the quick starters.
Early to curve one, but yeah, it's a very strong start. You can make some little mistakes when you start.
It's so wet when you come out from under the roof in that run from 0 to 1 that it's just almost impossible to hold the line you want.
Super slick. For all these people that are racing in the wet before it hardens up a little bit, it's just going to be whoever can kind of straighten things out the most.
And there's a payoff between it being streaming wet and then it getting frostier and frostier and slower and stickier as you go on. So
there'll be some point in the middle where the track is kind of really in an okay place, and then it goes away again.
Second best speed to Christopher Groenhair, so the gap is going to come right down. Could still just about hang on.
It's a little bit rough there.
Yeah. Nearly 2 kilometers an hour down on Groenhair, so he's going to go behind, is he? Yes, by 300ths.
Yeah, it's especially 14, you're going uphill so far. I know you can't really tell on TV, but it is super far uphill.
And it's steep. I mean, it's not gradual. It is a big steep. When you're walking around, it's a steep
If you walk
uphill.
up it, your calves are ruined for the day.
All right, 300s in it for the lead. So always a quick starter. And you come out from under the roof, straight into the water.
Managing the end of the groove. Looked like it wanted to kick him, but he kind of just said, no, thank you, please. Now he's... Again, Winterberg is devil's in the details, like you said before. So like a difference of 10 centimeters left or right can ruin your day.
Yeah. Remembered his bib. Next up is Ying Cheng of China. 2 wins in the last 2 World Cup outings this season. An enormous boost in his form. Only the 2nd World Championships for him. Christopher Groenhair, who was off first in his 8th. Matt Weston in his 4th. And at the same age, Ying Cheng made his debut last season. So let's see what he's got. He needs to be super calm here. 486 is another strong start.
Very rough out of 0 and into curve 1. We'll see that. It's reflected in his speed.
Well, it was 1200s up on Groenhair at the start.
And it's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just that you saw how basically just throwing his legs around, doing everything he can to try and get going straight again. He just couldn't get it back in time. Looks like he's fighting a little bit through 5.
Now, if you're 2300s back at the Kreisel, you could be as far as 7/10ths back at the bottom of the track.
Yeah, it does compound very quickly on this track. Too early to 9, so he gets bumped away. He's going to get weird height. Doesn't really show here, but it will show on his speeds at the bottom.
Yeah, that big pressure in 11 as well, trying to fight that to stop it really going up to the roof.
Yeah.
3rd best speed. And he's going to be getting on for 6/10ths back at the line, 6400s.
Yeah, you pretty much called that.
Yeah, it's
pretty predictable here. It's
not
very
quite
known.
Not quite John Morgan Rainman.
No.
He's in it within the 100th. I'm kind of
imagine the numbers floating in front of his eyes. It's just uncannily good.
And this track is so. If you've got, they should have an off ramp after 4, so you can just stop instead of going to 5 because you're done.
You might as well just get off and let your sled finish the run for you. Walk back to the top. Hopefully somebody brings it back for you. I don't know.
I mean, that's a long way up. And you think, okay, you know, how far? It only adds an extra meter, but imagine you're driving a car and you bump up a bank like that. Imagine how it feels inside.
It's just you can feel the speed just get blasted into nothing.
And that should be driving you forward, all that pressure that is getting taken out of the sled. Now then, I think this man, he's not a dark horse. He was the bronze medalist last year, you know, and he's been right in there swinging all year long. Made his debut back in Whistler in 2019 in the World Champs. He was 9th then. Let's see what he's got today. Ooh.
It's okay. That's a strategy to take it over super early and kind of run a long arc around 0. I like that. From 1 to 2, but he dips quite a bit in 2.
He's only had one top 10 finish here in World Cup races. He was 9th in the last outing.
Yeah, he's quite like that entrance of 5. We'll see if it works for him. Doesn't seem to be.
Okay.
He's down.
But he's not too far back, only 100th behind the leader at the Kreisel. Third best speed, so he's doing better than Yin of China.
Just a little bit early there on 9. And again, you'll see, yep. So that was actually, so you can't really see that that's a little sketchy. Yep.
And that's the latest thing, isn't it? If you're late at 9, it just compounds down there.
So on most of this track, you have to like just slowly kind of get things closer and closer to being back to being ideal. When you're in 12, 13, 11, no, 12, 13, whatever.
Yeah.
11, 12, 13, you really just have to, you got to get it back online.
And at end of 11 is the key there. If you're down too early or hanging on too late, then everything, it's just a crash.
If you end up with height at the end of 12, it takes you over too early to 13, bumps you off, and then you have exactly what just happened.
Yeah, and
you can see that he's kind of pointed down as he should be rising into the curve. And that's
exit of 11. You should be nosing down, and really, that was
14.
taking it off late.
Yeah, so there's a lot more left in the tank for him.
Yeah,
too.
But in this company, can you afford a loose run? Well, I think we're going to find out now, because Felix Kaisinger is famous for loose runs. Yeah. He can produce some absolute barn-burning performances.
When he hooks up, like when it gets going, it's just gone. So
normally in a 2-heat race, he's dead after the first one and comes flying back in the second. If he has a loose run here, he's going to need some redemption. So what does he do? 26 years old, 5th World Championships, made his debut in Whistler 2019. 487, that's a pretty decent start.
Kind of a long skid there from 0 to 1, but it wasn't like a steep angle of a skid, so it might not kill him too much on time.
Out of 3, climbing uphill through corner 4.
It's looking a little bit late for my taste in 5, but maybe that works on his sled. Looks pretty smooth.
Yeah, the Germans have a different line in corner 5 quite often. Down into the Kreisel. Third best speed, level with Groothair. Now he drops behind. Matt Weston had the best speed at the start. Christopher Groothair still the fastest sled all the rest of the way down.
Yeah, no real drama per se. This is kind of a typical Winterberg run. No drama, but there's not the speed that you might expect.
Not building speed at the bottom and across the line, 3800s back. Okay, so already we're seeing some very major gaps. We've got 5 sleds down. The 5th place man is 8600s back on a track that is renowned for dead heats. Gap first to second, Groothair to Weston is 300s. No one else in the party at the moment.
Yeah, so the water in the track is really, it just makes it super greasy at the top. And you just, if you're not used to driving in it, you don't have the experience, or maybe just don't even have the feel for driving in the wet like that, then you're at a pretty big disadvantage.
Yeah.
By the time you get into curve 5.
And it's not dissimilar to race cars in the wet. Everything skids around a lot. Christopher Groothair, the early leader. Well, next up, a man who finished in 5th place in St. Moritz in the Worlds last year, Great Britain's Marcus Wyatt. This is his 5th Worlds. He too made his debut in Whistler in Canada back in 2019. St. Moritz was his best World Cup result. He finished 4th place here in his best World Cup result, rather, in Winterberg. 5th was his best World Championships finish. But he also had a team medal in St. Moritz.
Looks like that's looking a little bit rough. It's still skidding all the way to the entrance of 1.
And flopping off 0 as well.
The speed's way down.
If the sled's bouncing around, it's being bounced off the ice by its own energy, and that's energy that needs to be driving it forward.
Yeah, so there is a gutter there, which is cut at the end between the start and 0. This is looking pretty smooth. So it can bounce you a little bit if you're not prepared for it. If you're even slightly skidding when you come over it, it gets... Like you, instead of running straight over this little drop in the track, then you get stuck and thrown to the side.
Yeah, it's one of the expansion curves that stops the track breaking in the summer when it gets hot.
Yeah.
Because it does get hot occasionally in the summer here.
It's
Warm
warm.
rain.
We'll call it warm.
3600's
This
back.
is-
Fourth best run at the moment.
The speed's not quite there, but
How close to Kaisinger? Not close enough. Fifth place, half a second,
Solidly
or
in the
fourth
middle.
place rather, half a second back. Yeah, so it is still the only world champions in the field at the top of the pile. Now, it took a while in the women's field for the pace to really start to sag.
yeah, I think. Well, yeah, you can actually see there was some little chunks of ice getting dragged into
Yeah.
zero with him. So I think there was some drama right at the entrance of zero. And this is exit Kreisel.
Yeah.
It just rises a little, maybe a little too much.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's a little
Well, that
skiddy.
means
That's skiddy.
He's
Okay.
come down a little early,
That's okay. Hi, everybody.
so he's overdriven, and then he pays for it
Yep,
on
you
the
get
exit.
pulled back up and then fall off the wall. And if you're not pointed the right direction when you come down, then straight into a skid. It's
As uncomfortable as it sounds. 27-year-old Chinese slider Chen Wenhao, third World Championships for Chen. Finished in 9th place last year in St. Moritz. Yeah, there's a lot of zero curve being taken by everybody. You just can't avoid it.
Yeah, no, it's a little bit of a late entry too, at least for what I like. I don't know about their sleds. They haven't been around long enough for me to figure out what they like.
Already in the reds. This is
Yeah.
very early in the run. This is kind of where Yin
It's
Cheng
really
was.
You'll most likely be a little too high here, and then no, he managed it.
Now, early in their career,
Late
the
entry
Chinese
slide.
sliders were on Schneider sleds.
Yes.
Now they're on sleds built by their coach Dirk Matchens. So they're learning and adapting, and they've got to be.
9.
Yeah, everything's
Everything's
instinctive, isn't it?
very different. So
Yeah.
the Schneiders are very stiff sleds. Whoa, Dirk's sleds are, from what I understand, much softer, much more drivable. So they're having to relearn how to slide.
Across the line, ooh, 7th, didn't even get ahead of Jung Seung-gui. So 57.9 for slide.
The wheels kind of came off that one.
Yeah, a little bit. And the problem is when the track is slow, any mistake really punishes you even more than when it's icy, which sounds
Yeah.
bizarre, but
So
it just seems to work that way.
If the ice is softer, right, and you skid at least even a little bit, your runners are digging in more than they would if it was really hard ice. Really hard ice, you'll just kind of skip off the top and some skids are out. This is
Yeah. He's trying to keep it left,
And
and
that's
as you
the-
see, he goes
that-
straight at
the
zero.
drain I was talking about. You could see
Yeah.
him kind of drop into something right before he came into zero.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been so mild here, the ice is actually sinking through the expansion joint, and that's why you get that little groove.
Yeah. I mean, they've already patched it and recut it a couple times. They're doing what they can, but the weather
Fighting the weather.
As
As is everyone. All right, next up, silver medalist last year in the Worlds, Amadeo Banias. What can the Italian do? Well, A, he's going to start quick.
Yeah.
B, it's his 4th World Championships, so he's not going to be overawed by the situation. Is their speed enough? The Italian women had an unmitigated disaster today. 481.
struggling and kind of
Yeah.
late to one. So the thing is, when he's kind of like Kaisinger, fast starter, and when he puts one together, he really goes. It's just a little bit struggly so far this week in training.
1700s up at the start, still 1700s up.
So at least he's doing something right.
Yeah. Oh,
And
be
late
in
to
the
Kreisel.
red, out of the Kreisel, only the 6th best speed. And this might be as much as the track's got in it right now.
Yeah, I mean, he did make some mistakes. That late entrance to Kreisel really scrubs a ton of speed. Near the roof.
Yeah.
So a curve 11 is, like you see people getting a little bit high. It's quite the curve. Like it builds a lot of pressure at the end, and it releases that pressure just at the moment it accelerates you forward. So if you're not connected to the sled when that happens, it kind of just peels you off the sled, and you'll see some, on the EC level, you won't see it so much here, you'll see some athletes get just kind of separated from their sleds.
Yeah. Nice. Because you're only doing like 70 miles an hour.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
it's
So
fine,
it's
that's
like
fine.
like a big parachute.
And the other thing on a day like today when the refrigeration is really on hard is the higher you get in 11, the frostier it is.
Yeah, the higher you get out of the spritz.
And actually the zero, I mean, look at the straight here. It's just like
It's just
there's
river.
a bow wave. Yeah.
Yeah.
Really is.
Yeah, and that's also like, it's a strange feeling going from a super low super low grip situation on the flats. You get in the curves are frosty, and then all of a sudden you have grip, you can turn. So if you're still, or even possibly you can't turn, because if you have too much grip, then it's flat and the sled won't respond to your steers. So it's just it really takes a lot of experience.
You're busking all the time. Third of our British sliders in the field is Craig Thompson, 31 years of age, 4th World Championship start for him, 1/100th of a second out of the medals in St. Moritz. Do you think he thinks the worlds owe him something? 4:88, another strong start.
Yeah, he's always had a strong start, and I know for a fact that he likes this track when it's cut nice and when it's not so bumpy. So this is a good flowy track for him.
He's had top 5 finish on this track, so he knows how to get down here.
Yeah, he appreciates the technical nature. Not technical as in like you miss your line and you're going to the hospital. Technical as in like, hey, can you steer 15% instead of 16%? Because that's what it takes sometimes to really gain the speed here.
Slender lead at the Kreisel. Better speed than we've seen from the last 3 or 4 sleds.
Too early gets bumped away from 9.
1800s back. This could be a top 3 run right now. Yeah, where is he going to end up? Well, behind Kaisinger, 5th best speed. So 5th at the line, ahead of Marcus Wyatt, his teammate. 4th. Wow, okay, ahead of Amadeo Banyas by 100th.
Yeah, because he had a good lineup 14, I guess, to play a little bit of a shortcut despite the speed.
So 57.27, he's in 4th. Banyas, last year's silver medal, in 5th, 100th back. And his teammate, Marcus Wyatt, in 6th, 200s back.
Okay.
So they're effectively all dicing for the podium as well.
Yeah, this is just, these conditions are just awful for Zero. Like, because so normally a lot of people try to do some of the curve in the flats. And right now you just can't, because you can only go in a straight line in the water. Either straight line or straight line going sideways. So it's really not ideal.
Axel Jung, Olympic silver medalist in Beijing 2022 and the possessor of 5 silver medals here in Altenburg in World Cup races. He's also a 2-time World Championship silver medalist in individual races, but has 5 team golds. He's almost the lucky charm. If he's on your team, you have a shot.
I mean, it doesn't hurt that he's also on Team Germany.
Well, yeah, but it's...
Yeah, no, but him especially.
If you're the female slider, you're paired with Axel.
Yes.
Hey, we're made in the shade here.
Nice.
1200s back.
Yeah, he's such a good driver. He's got the gliding and the driving and the hard driving. Working a little bit to try and get over to 5. We'll see if things work out for him. He's just no speed.
Raced here in the 2015 Worlds. That was his first World Championships. He finished in 6th position then. He's not in 6th place now. He is the slowest of the 10 sliders we've seen so far in his first heat.
Oh, that's kind of a late entrance.
Whoa!
Pretty high there at the exit. This is, that's uncomfortable.
Yep.
And depending on how much he feels like steering, we may see some action here.
Yeah.
Okay. Good on him for stopping it.
Nearly a second back. This has not been a happy day so far for Christian Bauder. The only little glimmer of light is that Christopher Grotehair is the leader. Kaisinger in 3rd, but Axel, 9th out of the 10 sleds. He did come across the line in front of Chen Wenhao of China.
Yeah, I mean, Hannah did move up a bit in the second run, so there was some bright skies there.
Yeah.
But yeah, that kind of... yeah. That kind of his reaction.
There you go. Let's throw that one away.
Like, okay, cool. I'll get those. That's my mistakes.
Unfortunately,
and then I'll see you guys the next 3 runs.
Yeah, all runs count.
Wow.
So
95 back.
Okay. 10 down, 20 to go. First heat of the Men's Skeleton World Championships. First heat of 4. Fastest 25 go through only into the final heat, so we will lose 5. Among them, unlikely, hopefully, to be Italy's Mattia Gaspari. 7th world champs for him. He made his debut here in 2015. He finished 21st. Didn't get the final run that year. 7th in St. Moritz last year, his world championship best.
So Mattia's kind of like he's a driver's driver.
Yeah.
Like the good driver. That's not looking he's not exactly proving a point right there from 0 to 1. But normally, like the good drivers look at him and be like, I wish I could be more like Mattia. So we'll see. See what he does here. That rough 0 to 1 is going to really haunt him the whole way down the track.
Yeah. And we saw that with Alessia Cripper in the women's race in the first race. She was all over 0, skidded both ways down to 1, and came down in 20-umpteenth.
Yeah. This is not forgiving at all.
No. This looks like an 11th best run at the moment out of 11.
Yeah. So we'll see how far he drops.
Yeah. It was not a strong morning for Italy, I'm afraid, in the women's competition. 6th best speed at the bottom is some salvation. He can build speed.
He that's what I said about him driving. Yeah. He can really build speed. It's just when you have that mistake right at the top of the track, this track is not long enough.
No. Best World Cup result on this track, a 15th place. But he was a Junior World Championship bronze medalist here in 2016. I'm not sure what the Italian for bon mot is, but he has one for every occasion.
Yeah. No, he's just been a very good driver for a long time. The results aren't always there, but usually if he shows up to like Europa Cup or something, he not stomps the field, but in terms of a driving clinic, yeah.
I don't know. Let's see the second.
Well, shortly before Pyeongchang, in the build-up to Pyeongchang, he had a massive Achilles tear, which basically put him out on the sidelines for the better part of 4 years. And he's still...
slow build back.
Yeah. Olympic bronze medalist Yan Wengang of China now. 6th place in St. Moritz a year ago. Now in his 4th Worlds. The Chinese team missed Altenburg 2021. Well, this would be his 5th. They
nice. Very well handled.
495. Yeah.
Maybe a little bit early to 1, so he might be a little bit late. No, he does a pretty okay job here.
A 10th behind the fastest starters, but crucially outstarting Christopher Groothair. So had an early advantage.
Yeah, it's looking pretty smooth so far.
3rd of our 3 Chinese sliders, all in the top 12 of the start draw.
Yeah,
so they all have relative 8th best speed. That's not bad though.
Yeah. That's actually fair. So it's a little too early there. It gets high and then high again, and then a 3rd time. So he's just traveling extra distance.
Yeah.
And then this is looking smooth. Maybe he's working a little too hard in curve 12, but I mean his speed's right up there.
See from the cameras that are not in the shelter, still drizzling as it has done all day. 57.52 is the first run down for Yan Wengang. 9th at the start, 8th at the bottom. So outdrove his start.
Always positive in Winterberg, which is known for being a heavily push-favored track.
800s behind teammate Yin Cheng, who started, 600s faster. 900s faster, in fact.
Yeah, that's 8-9 transition, just gets bumped away. And then has that spike.
Almost everybody has. That 8-9 has been so difficult.
Oh, and then he just gets the 3rd rise.
Yeah.
So that feels like you're going to flip, but you're not. You just have to trust it, just believe it's not going to flip. I mean, sometimes every once in a while it will, but
keep the faith.
Yeah, as long as you're going, the faster you're going, the safer it is.
Yeah, and
keep your shoulders down.
And that's the bizarre truth of all these tracks. The faster you're going, the safer it is because you've got more control. Sammy Meyer for Austria, 4th world champs for him as well. Made his debut in Altenburg 2020. Finished 19th then. His best was the next year in Altenburg, 11th place finish.
Yeah, so Sammy's a great glider. I mean, it makes sense given his home track of Eagles. He does a great job handling 0 to 1. I like that entrance at 2. Maybe a bit wavy there between the 2 pressures, but I think it's okay.
Starting right around where Christopher Groothair started, just 300 slower than our current leader. Actually not losing an awful lot of ground. Let's see what his speed's like.
Whoa.
11th, all right, we just saw 8th best speeds.
He was looking a little bit uncomfortable in 5, which I didn't really understand because he was close enough to the line, but it's, again, a mystery sled to me, so maybe they just have different requirements.
He's using the same sled that Janine Flott uses.
Yep, and they built a bunch of speed. I've heard they're a little tricky to drive, but when you get it right, it goes.
Yeah. 1 second back, 57.77. And by the end of this first heat of 30 sleds, that might still look like quite a decent time.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
I'm looking at the track half as much as I'm looking at the athletes, and it does seem to be getting whiter and frostier and less glossy all the way down.
Yes, definitely, 100%. Everything's starting to really firm up and grow a little layer of frost. Yeah, just the entrance, he probably, so he had too early of a peak and then too early of a second peak, which then all of a sudden there's a third peak.
Yeah.
You get sucked back up, travel extra distance, you waste energy turning your kinetic energy into that potential energy of, yeah, it's rough.
It is.
It's a rough day to start late.
All right, Kim Ji-soo, and he's only in the middle of the field.
Yeah.
He's 13th of 30. So Kim Ji-soo next up, 5th Worlds for him. He too made his debut in Whistler. And if you wonder why all the Koreans made their debut in Whistler, most of them, bobsleigh and skeleton, did their early development work in North America.
Look at the coach of Korea this week. You got Gassner.
Yeah, Alex Gassner was in Altenburg as well.
This is his home track, so
Yeah.
hopefully he's able to give them some insights. It's just a little bit loose from 0 to 1.
They had a good start,
like a little bit
483.
Maybe a skid from 1 to 2 as well.
Yeah. It looked like he was almost up on one runner in 0.
Yeah.
And again, looking here, you can see much less glossy track, even though it's still wet.
It just fell off of 5 at the end, and you saw him a little too early to 6, so he got bumped away.
And that affects you all the way through the Kreisel, because you're late onto 6, late onto the Kreisel.
Yeah, it's just, yeah, exactly. It just compounds.
Yeah.
14th speed.
Yeah. Nothing in the
Whoa.
tank. Whoa, big height. Big height. And nothing to play with here, and it must just feel like the sled is slowing down on you.
Especially when you're going up 14 when it's frosty. It's just like,
can I get off and walk now?
Yeah, you almost feel like trying to like.
There's Alex Gassner on the left. I went up to chat to him in Altenburg, and he said, "Oh, you remember me?" Every time he came, because he was in and out of the World Cup squad a couple of times. Every time he came back for headshots, he went, "Oh, you remember me?" Yes.
Yeah. No,
It was only a year.
He always, he was the kind of guy that always kind of didn't think that people would remember him, or I don't. Yeah,
Good slider.
Fantastic driver.
Yeah,
absolutely. Not another driver's driver.
And why wouldn't you, haul in that German knowledge of German tracks building up to the Worlds?
If you can find a German willing to coach and afford to pay him, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So look at that, way inverted there.
Wow.
That's where your left runner is coming up off the ice, chattering away. And it's not the only thing chattering away
Mistakes have
either.
been made. Yeah.
All right, Alan, what about Austin Florian from the USA, the 29-year-old in his 5th Worlds? Again, another Whistler debutant. He was 8th there and 4th in the team race. Last year had his first top 10 World Cup race result here, but he's been really on form this year.
Yeah, no, he's coming on at a good time as well. Oh, couple of little skids from 0 to 1. He's a fantastic pusher. He's always been a great driver on tracks where you throw it around, and he's really starting to learn how to glide.
Yeah, had some good top 6 finishes, some personal bests this season in the World Cup races.
Yeah, a little bit high on that. Yep, okay.
Yeah, there's the tap.
Going to be unfortunate because he's probably going to have a skid here. Oh, no, he fixed it.
There you go, only 1500s back,
Awesome.
but the speed has gone, hasn't it?
It's gone. Yeah, that entrance of 5 is just, it's game over, basically. A little bit of a skid maybe on the entrance in 9.
Bringing it back. Well, he might be in the battle for 10th place.
Yeah, he's doing actually a great job.
Yeah.
Given that entrance of 5.
Just had such a good season so far this year. Where's he going to be at the line? 11th, 10th, 12th, 57.82. So 1.06 back. Sammy Byron 11th, 1.01 back, so only 500s away, and he's a 10th behind Axel Jung in 10th.
So I think he probably had a late entrance of 4, either late or very early, and if both of those end up with the sled rising too much, you kind of a whoopy moment at the end. And
now the deal here is the top 25 will go in reverse order in the second heat. So at the moment, he would go 11 people, so 22 minutes before Christopher Grotehair. And if the track is frosting up and getting slower by the minute...
Yeah, it depends on the breakover point where like the track actually starts getting slower. But yeah, absolutely. That can make a big difference. You just have to stay within contact.
And we saw in the second heat of the women's race how much the field closed up. If you had a good heat, suddenly you were on fire.
Yeah.
All right, we have 15 sleds down. Next up is Dane Rasmus Johansson. Second Worlds for him. He made his debut last February in St. Moritz, finished 21st. That was his second big competition in St. Moritz in 2 years, because he finished inside the top 10 in the Youth Olympics in 2020 on the same track. Lots of experience here, and the man behind him in a yellow jacket, that's because he's being coached by the German team.
German coach, German sled.
Yeah.
He's looking, he had a little bit of a skid, a little too much work from 0 to 1. He's very knowledgeable in terms of lines. He's got a nice, his start's coming along nicely.
Yeah.
Like he's really developing as a slider.
Does a good line in the commentary box as well. Was in the box in Altenburg
I heard that. It was pretty
last week. Yeah. His dad's here as well, supporting. Lots of friends and family making it to Winterberg. It's really accessible. Just in the tributaries of the Ruhr Valley. 14th best speed, not bad.
No. Looks like he might be working for lines a little bit. He just looks a little bit uncomfortable. You see most places he's kind of got a shoulder up.
Well, with his progress this year, he'll definitely be looking at a top 15 finish.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, this is been a great season for him, and it's good to see some positive momentum.
Good speed at the bottom.
Yeah.
But not quite enough to haul him into 15th ahead of Kim Ji-soo of Korea. Only 400s behind the Korean.
Yeah, look for him over the next couple of years.
Yeah.
Right now he's not a threat, but give him some time.
And it's the consistency that repetition brings you that makes that difference, isn't it?
Yeah.
That means you can produce more than one good run in a week.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess there might have been some action at the exit of the grooves that we couldn't see before. Oh, yeah. Oh, no, good job.
Yeah.
Oh, there, and that's the gutter we were talking about.
Yeah.
I thought he did a great job of that little, like, hip check banana steer that he did to get the runners back going straight, despite the groove throwing him.
Yeah.
It just was a bad time to go through the dip.
Hallo Bernhard, weiterhin gute Besserung, bleib stark.
That's rough.
Yeah, and that's not Danish, that's German.
So that was a perfect reaction to what the groove did. It's just unlucky that there was such a dip.
Yeah, that groove, we saw them working on the other groove. The right-hand groove, as the slider sees it, the left as we look at it, but it is actually this one, because most people are right-handed, so they push with their left hand, or their right hand, but with the sled on their right. So that left groove gets all the action.
Yeah, there's also a theory that a lot of people have, which is, I mean, the math works out, just barely, that you take the groove which is closer to the entrance of the curve.
Yeah.
So you travel a slightly shorter distance.
Yeah, it's a right-hand curve, so you want to enter on the left, so you start on the left.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah. It's just, I don't know that it makes as much of a difference as some people seem to think. But
Vladislav Heraskevich, first of our two Ukrainian athletes. He's the one that we've seen most often, because this is his 6th Worlds.
He's a great driver.
Yep.
He just sometimes doesn't connect exactly the right way. I mean, his 8th and 10th speed, despite his start.
There you go. He's such a good glider. And brave as you like, and he's got a lot of mass as well, and that helps the sled accelerate.
Yeah, I mean, well, with the new weight rule, the mass is less of a, the athlete's mass is less of a factor than it used to be.
He had to cut a lot. 12th place off the 16th best start.
Nice.
Yeah, there's his dad, Mikhail.
Drive your way into the race.
And there are 3 Ukrainian sliders now. We've got our second Ukrainian coming out towards the tail of the field. He's just 16. And last week in the World Cup race in Altenburg, their 3rd new kid came in at the age of 15. So
they're really trying to work, to build a program off of the success.
Yes, they are.
It's good, and they're doing a lot of. I was super impressed. I was working with them a little bit, like a very tiny bit, beginning of the year in Sigulda, and they were. They didn't really need any coaching. I just fed them video. They were great.
57.82 for Vladislav Heraskevich. What about Alexander Schlindner? Much less experienced in World Championship terms. His debut last year in St. Moritz. And he finished in 20th place there, made the 4th and final heat. And that was a big deal for him on the second day. He was outside the top 20, if I recall correctly, in the 3rd heat, drove his way into the final run. And on your debut, that's the goal.
Yes, absolutely. You just want to finish out the world, or at least feel like you finished.
And if you're racing in a cold shower like today, then that's going to be the goal as well when you're coming out of the midfield.
Yeah, the lines are looking pretty okay. It looks like maybe he's working a bit too hard. You see his shoulder come down, like he's really trying to drive over to the next curve.
Well, got great coaching. The head coach of the Austrian team rather is Andy Schmidt, who ran British Skeleton so successfully for so many years.
Yeah, you can see him really shying away from entrances he doesn't like, which is gonna hurt him. That's what it is.
Metaphorically hurt him, but
it's
hurt him in
speed.
time. Yeah, exactly.
It's probably will make it less painful.
Yeah.
Physically, but in terms of speed, it just kills you.
Sometimes you just got to take the hits out of the final corner. Big steer across the line. 18th place, there's Andy Schmidt. So a 58.60. We'll put the speeds into comparison. The fastest run is still that of Christopher Grotehair, the first man, 56.76. Track record is a 55.5, so 1.2 seconds quicker on a 55-second run. That's the difference that slow ice makes.
Yeah, and I was being a little overly critical. Like he's getting much better. He's still improving as a slider. So it's just whoa, a little bit bumpy there, from 13 to 14, I believe. Yeah.
Rainy all the way.
Yep. So next for Switzerland is Vincent Boeuf, the middle of three sliding brothers. Jean-Jacques, the younger, is the older rather, is now sliding for Liechtenstein. But Vincent's here, 22 years of age, made his debut in St. Moritz last year in the World Champs. Has only raced here on a couple of occasions, so short on knowledge.
He's another good glider. So, like you said, though, he is a little short on knowledge. He doesn't quite have the start that you need if you're short on knowledge on this track. Oh, quite a large wave on the first pressure of 2. Let's see how it looks through here. That looks good. Maybe just a little too late to 5, but I don't know what he needs for his sled.
Yeah. Watch the feet, they're moving around a lot.
Yeah. He's just trying to do little adjustments.
And again, that's not quite knowing what the line is and then discovering midway through, that's probably not working for us.
Yeah, no, it's... Just look for him in the future.
And part of the problem with track knowledge is he's raced here twice. It might have been dry, and this is totally a different track as a result. So it's that knowledge, and that's the home advantage that the Germans have. They'll have done pre-season training here in the rain. They'll have done post-season training here in the rain. They've raced here in the rain and every other condition as well.
Like
so
every way, like after they've slid here the week after World Cup luges when the track is actually cut for luge, so the profiles of the curves are different. Like it just takes years of experience. It's an experienced sport. Like,
it's all knowledge. Yeah.
You can expect if you can hold your body together until you're like 32, that's the point where you have enough experience to really be dominant.
Yeah.
Whoa, look at that spray. Wow.
Your feet are soaked by the end of this, aren't they?
That's actually pretty miserable.
It is.
Yeah.
But he gets lots of kudos for the hair. Next up, Dan Barefoot for the USA. Again, another second-time World Championship starter. 26 in St. Moritz on his debut. Has raced here before, 2 Intercontinental Cup weekends when that was a thing. The learning level is North America's Cup or Europe Cup, and then there was a sort of global second tier of sliding below World Cup, which was
slightly sub-elite, and but now they've just been integrated back into Europa Cup or into the World Cup. They're basically split in half. That was a very late entrance at 2, causing some big waves.
A decent enough start, 5 dead.
Yeah, he's been working a lot on his start over the past couple of years, so it's good to see him kind of reeling in the field a little bit. That's looking pretty okay. Maybe a little bit crossing late to Kreisel, but that's not necessarily a problem.
Again, relatively new to this track. 2 race weekends is not a lot of time to have spent here.
9, yeah, no, it's.
He'll be looking to be in the top 20 after the first heat if he can.
Yeah, you can see him struggling as he comes out of the exit. You can see his shoulders coming away from the, like really trying to get over.
19th, so ahead of Alex Schlintner at the line by 900ths.
Yeah, just a little bit struggly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So possibly overdriving a bit. So the thing is, every time I call one on this track or try to call one, Like, oh, it's overdriving. Those lines are too whatever, and then all of a sudden they're fast.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I'm glad it's not just me.
Yeah, there's too much that I just don't know. Too many factors. It's a super complicated system. If it wasn't, it wouldn't be fun to watch or to do.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, that's one of the joys of this sport. Is it is so unpredictable.
Yeah. And it's just so long, and there's so much feel. Like, you can get all the data in the world, but there's a certain degree of feel,
yeah,
which can't be replaced.
Exactly. 20 down, 10 to go. Christopher Grotehair still leads from Matt Weston and Felix Geisinger. First 3 out of the start shed, first 4 out of the start shed, first 5 out of the... No, first 4 are still up at the top of the pile. So here we go now with our 21st starter, our first World Championship debutant this year, Livio Sommermatter from Switzerland, just 21 years of age, Youth Olympic bronze medalist in Lausanne 2020. That, of course, was raced in St. Moritz, and a good start, 492.
Yeah, good start velocity, too, although it's starting to come away already. Starting to go, that's probably pretty late. No, yep.
Oh,
that's not good.
Definitely lost the faith there, didn't he? Real big steering.
The late skid into Kreisel.
And he's got decent experience here. He's raced here at all levels, including 2 Junior World Championship outings on this track.
I mean, we've seen it even with the German sliders. If you mess up the entrance of 5, it carries through into Kreisel, and it's just such a hard thing to fix.
11th best start, but that exit of 5 has just murdered the speed. Across the line, 58.99. So half a second slower than we just saw from Dan Barefoot, and so much of that would just be from that one missteer. And that's really what the sport is all about, you know.
There's that slight miscalculation coming out of 4, which caused the late skid into 5.
And you want to be as close to perfection as possible. But it's his World Championship debut. If he makes the top 25 in the 4th and final heat, then that will be job done. He's just here to experience it. He's done Youth Olympics. I mean, I'm not sure that World Championships in Winterberg can show much in terms of pressure and glamour, but nevertheless.
Yeah. No, exactly. No, it's just, first time, a new experience. It's rough. Your your brain's already in like a heightened state. And it's just, you overreact a little bit.
Yeah.
On the sled. It happens.
All right. Now, for France, Lucas Defaye, again, I would think probably a third of the field made their debut in the World Championships in St. Moritz last year. That's the turnover after Olympic Games. Max Robert helping with the coaching. He's the bobsled coach with Bruno Mijon for France and Monaco.
Yeah, looks like he was maybe a little too middle late even to the 0. Very late to curve 2.
Not a bad start again, 5:01. Anything below 5 is absolutely in there swinging.
Yeah, this is looking very good. Yep. So if you really get a nice smooth kind of middle entrance to 4, you have options of basically picking your entrance to 5. No speed in it.
Speed's a little bit better than last couple of sleds, but not much. 20th best speed.
Open up a bit.
Finding a little. Now is he going to creep ahead of Switzerland's Livio Sommermatter at the line?
Nice and smooth through the lower section. Yeah, there you go. Building a little bit.
There's the reward for your patience and your dedication. 58.67. So he does creep ahead of Sommermatter.
Yeah, I mean, he's a good slider. He's just still coming along. He's still young.
And as you can see from his helmet, from La Plagne. La Plagne's a real driver's track rather than a glider's track. And,
very much.
And so a sort of an Altenberg or a Sigulda or even a Lillehammer would probably suit him, his sort of natural instincts a little better than this. But again, you develop.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. You basically come out of your home track good at whatever it is your home track requires, and then figure out the rest when you're on tour. Look at that water.
I know.
And even dragging your toe through that much water has got to slow you down quite a bit.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I think the toe steer there, because it's wet, probably has twice the effect it normally would.
Yeah.
But of course, you don't know that until you've oversteered.
You put it down, and well, the thing is, like, there's no grip or anything, even though, like, you're putting your foot onto wet ice, which is notoriously slick.
For Belgium, Colin Freeling. Now he trains with the British crew. So you can see Martin Stukel's there giving him the, that wasn't actually, was it? From Bello at the top.
well handled. Yeah, he's been coming along really well this year, in my opinion.
Third world champs. He made his debut in Altenburg 2021 in the COVID championships. And then raced in St. Moritz last year. 28th place he was in St. Moritz.
It's a little bit late to 5.
Missed the race in Innsbruck after La Plan because he was in hospital having his appendix removed, which had burst.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's scarier than anything on the track.
Well, it also takes a bit of your core strength away because it's not a non-invasive core surgery. So yeah, it takes a while to come back from that. Right, 22nd at the moment from the 23rd best start.
Speed.
Is he going to crawl ahead of Defaye? Not quite. 200s behind.
His speed at the bottom was pretty okay.
Yeah.
Like, better than the next few guys above him, so.
Now, we don't have a window. Well, we do, but it just faces the wall. So I'm going to open the back door.
It's still raining.
It is still raining, yeah.
Yeah. It's not pouring, but it's not.
Yeah, no, it's not
doing
dry
nothing.
yet. No.
It is pretty foggy around the track today.
Well, I think we're just in a cloud, basically. And
Probably, yeah.
That's all there is to it.
Yeah, just the groove really tried to yank him, and he did what he had to keep the sled going straight.
And then the sled gets up on the plane on the top of the water and just motors
goes
on over the top, going on its own sweet way.
Yep.
All right. So Colin Frey in 22nd spot, 200s behind Lucas Defaye. Next up, Blake Enzi. Now deep in the field, but with the potential possibly to spring a bit of a surprise.
He can really put some runs together on this track.
Yes, he can. And he's got decent experience here, raced in ICC, Junior World Championship. He's done 2 World Cup races here, 5:06.
Yeah, and this track does suit him. He started out on Calgary, which was very much a glider's track before it was taken out of commission.
Kevin Boyer's here this weekend, helping with the coaching, and was here last weekend, helping with the coaching of the team. Eric Nielsen as well, so some former Canadian sliders being dragged in.
Blake's fighting too hard for lines right now. You can see him fighting through straightaways, causing skids.
Again, another really tall athlete, one of the tallest in the field.
They get another skid. Yeah, he could be a bobsledder if he decided to.
I'd said that to him and to Alex Schlintner as well. They could easily make a bobsled team.
Yeah, the problem, so at least for me, I just never wanted to have, like, I'm okay smashing myself off walls and flipping and stuff. I don't want to hurt the guy behind me. So maybe that's just not the personality.
All right, 24th at the line off the 20th best start. There's Boyer on the left, Coach Joe Cicchini on the right. 59.13. All right, 23rd he was in St. Moritz, his best World Cup result here, an 18th place finish. This is not a track where he seems to have gelled yet either.
No, not quite. Yeah, you can just see, like, yeah, this is the entrance of 9. He basically got hung at the egg. So basically he ended up with a bunch of height at the end of 8, which there was no way to resolve it, and it throws you across into the wall before 9.
And hits hard, and there's a lot of shoulder there to take the impact.
Yeah, he's kind of a wide guy.
Yeah. So he's got a big smile on his face.
His personality is great. He's a lot of fun to be around.
For Spain, Adrian Rodriguez, like his teammate Ana Torres Quevedo in the women's race, made his debut in St. Moritz last year. They teamed up together in the team race as well, a historic first ever for Spain, because there was only ever Ander Mirambel, the coach behind them, on his own before he created this program.
Yeah, they got a whole crew of athletes on Europa Cup. And also you've seen kind of a revolving door on World Cup a little bit on the ladies' side.
Trying to get a few more athletes that World Cup experience.
Yeah, they're a little bit wavy in too. So they're coming along.
Yeah.
Audrey is a fearless slider, to be totally brutally honest. Like, he's absolutely fearless. So a little overdoes it there, has a skid into 5. So just once he kind of learns how to temper the steers a little bit more, I think he could be really something.
We started sliding 3 seasons ago. So this is, again, the whole setup is basically 3 years old.
Yeah, no, he just doesn't have the reps.
Yeah. 1.6 back on the split. 20th fastest start.
Quite flat.
Yeah. And as always, right elbow sticking out in the airstream.
Yep.
That's one idiosyncrasy of how he slides.
Yeah, so he's still got a little bit too much tension. When he gets a little bit uncomfortable, you can kind of see him almost start to flex his upper body, and his elbow comes out.
And the idea is to be as jelly-like as possible on the sled, because then you're damping the sled, stopping it being bounced off the ice.
Yeah, so he's a strong dude. He overdrives a bit.
Yeah.
Like, he'll get there. He just needs some time to practice.
Yeah, you're going head first on
skid,
sheet
skid.
ice at 70 miles an hour, but you've got to not be tense about it.
The amount of relaxation is pretty mind-blowing.
Yeah.
That it takes to really, really be fast.
Vamos España, vamos a ver la segunda.
And you got to be a brute for the first 50 meters,
Yeah.
and then Zen Buddhist beyond that.
Yeah.
Next up, Akwasi Frimpong of Ghana. Now, for the first time ever in his competition career, and this is as a sprinter and as a slider, his mum is here to watch him compete. He said, she's never watched me compete before because she was always working 3 jobs to keep us alive when we were kids. So his family watching back home at ungodly o'clock in Salt Lake City. Hello to them. But his mum and his sister and kids are here as well. 5:03 getaway.
Yeah, a little bit of struggles in Curve Zero, like most of the field. Now, he's been really coming on this season. Like the partnership that he has with China has been really beneficial for him, I think.
And this is yet another brand new track. It's hard to imagine, because we saw him first in the World Championships in Koenigsegg 2017, 7 years later, and he's never been to Winterberg.
That is...
He'd never been to Winterberg.
Surprising to me. I had no idea. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
North America has got more experience, but he's never raced here in his life. This is his first week here.
That makes sense. Like, this is low drama lines.
Yeah. Well,
that's a little bit of drama.
What he does have is commitment and bravery, but he's the only African athlete in the skeleton field.
Yeah, no, he just...
And across the line, 59.87.
So definitely has the equipment and the bravery aspect down. So I'm glad to see him out here.
Yeah, definitely.
He's always got a smile on his face. He's always a good dude to be around.
Fun to be around.
So
sprinter in his teens and early 20s in the Netherlands, and then moved over to college in the US and has stayed there ever since. Lives in Salt Lake City with his wife and his 2 daughters. So a lot of help, I know, early in his career, and still from Zach Lund, the US slider who's still based there.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think he's been coached a little bit by pretty much everybody.
Yeah.
Like all the big names.
Love you. Ghana, hope of a day in Africa on ice. Let's go.
Spent a lot of time training with the Russians up until the last couple of seasons. So he has been learning. Now then, for the Czech Republic, Timon Drajanovský. Timon, just 20 years old and already in his 2nd World Championships. Sensational silver medal in the team race last week in Altenburg with teammate Anna Fernstedt. Another youth Olympian from the 2020 Games.
Whoa, he got pulled pretty hard by the groove. He's an really up-and-coming slider. Like, he's really starting to figure out how to drive. Been fun to watch him over the past couple of years.
He's been here 3 times over the last 2 or 3 seasons.
He's pretty wavy in 2, so the speed's going to be, after that, struggles yet. And there's some struggles into 4. He's probably going to be a little too high,
And again, you can still see so much water sitting in the track. When you're on the straight, you're just splashing through the puddles.
Yeah. So you'll see one of the things with the less experienced sliders is that they're going to fight for the entrances that they want to have. Whereas often, like a more experienced slider will just take a bad entrance and then try to fix it in the curve.
It is always a compromise, isn't it, between driving and carrying your speed, and sometimes more driving is actually worse for the speed than less.
Yes, often.
Yeah.
There's lots of times where you could do nothing and you'd be pretty okay. You might take a bruise or something, but you'd be pretty okay.
Well, this is the John Montgomery theory. He said if you could start a sled that weighed the same as me down the track at the same speed, it would almost always win because it's not outthinking it.
Yep, that's probably accurate.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
Yeah. He said, I overthink it, a bag of potatoes wouldn't. So Timon Drajanovský, 27th at the start, 26th at the bottom. 700s between him and Akwasi Frimpong.
Yeah, he's super nice. He's a great guy to be around on tour. Another great guy.
Well, listen, one of the great joys of this job is that everybody is super nice. You just can't survive in this sport if you're not.
If you don't like get along with other people, it's just hard to progress. And also, it's easier to deal with the first few years where you're getting smashed off of walls and stuff if you can go out and have a beer with everybody.
Yeah, and everybody's in the same boat, you know, and
everybody goes through it. It's a little bit rough at first, but.
Now then, here's an interesting tale. Chinese Taipei's Chang Hongdong made his World Championship debut in Koenigsee 2017 as a skeleton slider. In 2016 in the Youth Olympic Games, he competed for Chinese Taipei in luge. He has done precisely no World Championship races since 2017. So this is second Worlds.
Oh, that's a rough exit of the groove. And that's a bit of a rough 0 to 1. So he is one of my absolute. I know I say this too much. He's one of my absolute favorite people on tour. He's the stories out of this guy. Back when he couldn't speak English, when he was doing luge, actually, they had the nations coach, like the small nations coach, essentially, and they would give him feedback after the run. He had no idea what he'd say, and he'd say, "Okay, thank you," and just hang up the phone and just go back to the top. And
it's like me getting it in German. Yeah, got that.
Exactly. Then just huck it off the top again.
Smile and nod.
Yeah.
Hope that wasn't a question.
Yeah. So it's exactly.
Yeah.
Now that he's great. He has the right mentality. It's a lot of fun to be around. He's just
Jonathan Yore from Taipei competed in the Worlds last year in Samarit, but Chang has not competed in 7 years. Since 2017, across the line at 28 spots, 60.42.
Doesn't have the experience yet. He's got upgraded. He's got a new coach, I think. So it's going to take some time.
What's going to be interesting is see if he's in the World Champs next year in Lake Placid, because most of his racing has been in North America. So he could have a much better time of it there. He's never raced on this track in his career. So, again, a week of training.
He's been spending... That's very low coming out of the second pressure, Kreisel. So, yeah, it's just lack of experience on the track.
And a lot of the steers will be fundamentally self-preservation, because all you learn in your first week at track is where you're going to crash.
You basically
to try and avoid
where
that,
you really need to do stuff to keep yourself from getting hurt. And then the finicky stuff, the speed building kind of comes with experience and with repetition, and you kind of feel where you can accelerate the sled going down the track.
Vladislav Polivac for Poland is our second World Championship debutant.
Sled almost came out of the groove on his
sled. Just about got it down into the first corner, into corner 0.
Yeah. With the conditions, the groove is probably melting, I would guess.
It's been cut pretty deep, but I know. It's probably not holding up too well in these conditions.
No. Yeah, when you're racing, they turn off the track to keep it from frosting as fast as it possibly could. That's a bit of a late entrance. And so what ends up happening is the groove starts going away. He's just skidding.
Yeah.
Entrances, like 5, 6, 7. You have one skid in there, then you're probably going to skid the other 2 transitions.
Doesn't have the speed of the sleds in front of him, so off a 26th place start, he's now dropped behind Timon Drajanovski, Akwasi Frimpong, and Chan Chun-hung.
Yeah, he's just trying to get to entrances he's not going to get to based on where he's in the previous curve. So he's just fighting the track.
And again, wrestling his way down, 60.79.
He's another guy who's learning. Like, you watch him slide in Segulda, he looks really good.
Yeah.
It just doesn't have the experience on this track.
Well, he's got a few runs on this track. He's been here in Europe Cup and ICC, but maybe that World Championship. He hasn't done much in World Cup, so
could be. It's a whole new world.
It definitely is.
You're standing at the line trying to focus, and there's like a gantry camera, like a camera on a swivel on a big end of a big stick, and it's just a lot going on.
Ilko in your face at the bottom while you're trying to watch your replays and think, how am I going to sort that one out? And our final slider in the field is Yaroslav Lavrenyuk of Ukraine, 16 years young. Youth Olympic silver medalist, 2024, yes, just 3 weeks ago, he was on the Yog podium in Korea. 3 previous races here. This is only his 3rd season of sliding.
Yeah, he is really picking up the sport fast. Like, he listens to everybody, like, takes at least a little bit of, like, he's just a student of the sport.
And he's not the youngest Ukrainian athlete that we've seen in the World Cup either.
If they can keep these guys around, they're going to be it's going to be like the Dukers brothers, kind of just hanging around on Europa Cup and then coming out and destroying the world on
Absolutely. World Cup. Another 15 years, he'll be in his prime. 15 years.
Yeah, actually,
I mean,
exactly, no, it's fair.
It is. 28th at the start, 28th at the moment. So ahead of Poland's Władysław Poliwak and trying to chase down Chinese Taipei's Chang Chun-hung. How close is he going to get?
It's looking really smooth.
Do you know, I think he might pick off 2 here. 26 best speed. Is he 27th at the line? Not quite. 2/10 behind. Actually, no, he's 2/10 ahead of Chang, so he's 28th at the line. So he has got 2 ahead of him, 2 behind him rather. And that is our final slider because Ryan Kuhn of Canada, the 21-year-old who is due to make his World Championship debut, has been forced to pull out. So no Worlds for Ryan this season. Hopefully we'll get a chance to see him next year in Lake Placid. But our final slider, the 16-year-old Yaroslav Lavrenyuk of Ukraine.
Yeah, it's that water. No, he's really progressing well. I hope he keeps it up.
Well, you know, from Youth Olympics podium 3 weeks ago into the World Championships.
That's what I thought. Pretty good.
Yeah. Do you know, it's all about humour and will to do it in the Ukrainian team. Definitely, they have got so much going for them. But the first man on ice is still the first man, Christopher Grotehair. 2 World Championship golds and Olympic gold in 3 seasons. Last year, a very disappointed 10th place in Samoritz, because everybody wants to do well in Samoritz because it's just Samoritz, it's the history of the place. But he is our leader from Matt Weston in 2nd place, the 2nd man out of the start shed, and Felix Kaisinger in 3rd spot. But it is right now, after one of 4 heats, definitely a 2-horse race. Kaisinger, Thompson, Banyas, Wyatt, Yin, Yan. I mean, that could all change in the 2nd heat. We saw so many mistakes being so costly.
With the ice conditions.
And again,
one mistake could cost you 4/10.
Again, if you had a kayak, you could get a top 10 run on this track.
Probably. At least maybe, kayak's probably better than I was thinking maybe a tube.
Tubing. Yeah, tubing will pick up speed down into 0 like you would never believe. In the top 25, Adrian Rodriguez outside, Timon Drajanovski, Kwasi Frimpong, Yaroslav Lavrenyuk and the rest, and their target will be to try and get into that overnight. Now we will go 25 down to 1 and then the remaining 5 sleds in Heat 2. And that comes up, I've forgotten already, 15:45 local, 14:45 GMT, and that is 11:45 Eastern. So you can join us in 35 minutes from now for the 2nd heat of the Men's Skeleton Worlds.